Good afternoon, boys and girls. I'm back with the rest of my story, Sea Stars in the Tide Pool. I'm starting on page 12. Sea stars of North America. There are many species of sea stars living along the coast of North America. Forbes sea stars are very common along the Atlantic coast from the Gulf of Maine to Texas. In fact, they're also known as common sea stars. Sunflower sea stars live in deep water along the Pacific coast, from Alaska to Southern California. These huge sea stars can be more than 3 feet wide. Sunflower sea stars begin life with 5 rays. They may grow up to 24 rays as they get older. This one is a blood star, and they are some of the most colorful sea stars in North America. They're known for being bright red, but they come in many other colors too. Sea creature feature. Outre sea stars are very common in the Pacific Northwest, but may be found in tide pools as far south as Mexico. Bat stars also live along the Pacific coast. These are the kind of sea stars we see a lot by where we live here in Washington. And they come in lots of colors: pinks, purples, oranges, reds. Slow eaters. Most sea stars crawl slowly across the ocean floor. The animals they eat are also slow. Sea stars eat when they sense food nearby. Many will eat shellfish such as clams, oysters, and mussels. Some sea stars eat seaweed. Others eat coral and sponges. Still others eat tiny pieces of food floating in the water or mixed in the mud. Cushion sea stars live in the Atlantic Ocean and eat many types of food. They often draw food out of the sand. Cushion sea stars can even eat sea urchins. This one is a sea star eating a sea urchin. See the pokey urchin? And look at all these sea stars. They're going to get it. When eating shellfish, a sea star uses its tube feet to pull the shell apart. The sea star then pushes one of its 2 stomachs out of its mouth and into the shell, where it breaks down the soft animal inside. So a sea star has its stomach inside of its mouth. Sea creature feature. Spiny sea stars will eat other sea stars. They aren't the only sea star species that does this. So that means they can eat each other. Oh my goodness. Growing sea stars. Female sea stars may lay many eggs each year. Some may produce between several hundred and several million eggs, which they cast out into the water. Only a few of these many eggs survive to become larvae or baby sea stars. Larvae are soft, tiny creatures that look nothing like their parents. They eat tiny plants and animals. Larvae go through many growth stages before becoming adults. Some species of sea stars brood. This means that they carry around and watch over their babies. Sea creature feature. When fighting with an enemy, a sea star may lose one of its rays. Sometimes a sea star will give up one of its rays on purpose so it can escape. Look at that. He's lost one of his arms, but it's growing back. Here's a caption for this beautiful picture. Sea stars can regrow lost rays. Lost rays, if they have enough of the central disk attached, can regrow into a new sea star. Comet stars can grow from a lost ray without any of the central disk attached. So a long time ago, sailors used to get sea stars and they would cut them up thinking they were going to get rid of them. And actually, they were just making more sea stars because sea stars would get in their nets and they didn't like it. Northern sea stars and blue mussels. The animals and plants that live in an ecosystem all depend on each other. For example, northern sea stars live in tide pools along the Gulf of Maine. They play an important role in their ecosystem, by keeping blue mussel populations under control. Blue mussels help keep the water clean. However, they quickly take over the places where they live. Northern sea stars eat blue mussels. If they didn't, blue mussels would take over the tide pools. Other animals living there would be pushed out. Here's a picture. Northern sea stars feed on blue mussels along the coast of New England. Without them, the ecosystem would fall out of balance. That means there'd be too many mussels. Sea creature feature. In the winter, northern sea stars leave their tide pool homes and migrate to deeper water. The fastest of these slow-moving animals can travel 1 mile in about a week. That is really slow. Keeping coral safe. It's not easy for many predators to eat sea stars. That is because sea stars have hard skin that's often prickly. Still, seagulls, sea turtles, and even some sea stars are known to eat them. Crown of thorn sea stars eat coral, and giant triton snails eat crown of thorn sea stars. Unfortunately, people started collecting giant tritons for their beautiful shells. Today, there are very few left. There are now many more crown of thorn sea stars, which means they eat more coral. This puts the entire reef in danger. So coral reefs are being harmed by the crown of thorn sea stars, which are eating more and more coral. Wow, look at that. It's got lots of pokies. Creature feature. Crown of thorn sea stars live in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Sea stars and people. Even with sea stars' fun shape and bright colors, some people dislike them. Some complain that sea stars eat oysters, clams, and other sea animals people like to eat. Sea stars are interesting creatures. They are also easy to catch, and many people enjoy collecting them. You can often find sea stars in tide pools or along beaches when the tide is low. If you don't live near the beach, you may be able to see sea stars at an aquarium. And then because this is a nonfiction book, there's a glossary, which is like a tiny dictionary. There's also an index to help you find things in the book. And there's some websites at the end. On the back, it shows you other types of books that are in the same series. So you can find books about all kinds of things by this same author. Thanks for reading. Bye-bye.